Hi everyone, this is Rohit from Rice and Mostrier, and today I'm excited to have Payman Taei, who's the founder of VisMe, one of the easiest and quickest way to create engaging presentations, infographics, and virtually any other type of visually engaging content. Payman has done his bachelor's from University of Maryland, and big thanks to Farzad Rashidi for the introduction. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rohit. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So you built VisMe, and before that, you'd also built 3 SaaS companies. But I'm interested to know about your journey. How did you get into this world of startups? And did you mentioned before the show that your family's from Iran, but how did that influence you to become like an entrepreneur?
Yeah, sure. So my history kind of goes back where I was a self-taught designer to pay my way through school back in college because I had no money, and I come from a middle income family and so on. And so to pay my way through school, that's essentially I started creating websites. Fell in love with design, although I was a biology major, and kind of some learning points from there I put into the business learnings later on. And that follows to this day. But in short, my journey started as a self-taught designer, ended up not going to graduate school, becoming sports medicine or doctor and so on, which typically in Middle Eastern families, that's what's expected of you. And ended up creating a small web design agency, graphic design. And most of what I did was, at that time, this is years ago for anybody to listen in, I used to do Flash websites, interactive animated sites. In those days, they were all based on a plugin called Flash. And then the demise of that tool was as a result of the evolution of the smartphone, iPhones coming out, which no longer supported that plugin. And so that affected my business very heavily, which was an agency of about 8 to 10 people. We did some really cool stuff, award-winning animated interactive websites. And then nobody really wanted them anymore because they could no longer view them on those devices. So my journey where VisMe came about was there's been a number of other tools such as MailChimp and so on started out of agencies where you literally try to solve a problem that you have. And so VisMe was actually to solve 2 problems. One was issues and concerns that frustrations that I faced as a designer, and also what others were facing coming to us as customers. And here's what they were. Customers coming were saying, hey, it's great that I ended up starting an agency, and out of that I faced I noticed 2 different frustrations. I mean, VisMe, like some of the other tools out there, was to solve problems that I saw. So MailChimp and some of the products started out of agencies. And I think Hootsuite as well was a result of that. So in short, there was 2 problems that I foresaw. One was one that I had and my colleagues had. Another one was where users had. Customers were coming to us saying, hey, it's great that I can hire you to design a graphic or website for me, but why can I not do some of these things myself? Why is it for every single thing that looks nice, I have to hire you guys or others? And the other one was me, myself, as a designer. I was always frustrated with the fact that I had to use 4 or 5 different tools as a designer, and each of them had a different interface in order to achieve one thing. So to create a web page or a graphic or website, I would see myself going from 3 to 4 different programs. And I always thought that there must be a better way so that there's one application that has the same interface for you to have the same different outcome, different types of content, and be able to one input the software and different output content. And then at the same time, it'd be easy enough that anybody can use it. So that's kind of where the journey for VisMe started. Initially, is for ourselves as designers to create content that was an alternative to Flash, that content would work on any device, a mobile device, such as now. And the other was that it would be where you can create content that is not just static. So anyway, in short, VisMe's journey has been in 2 parts. We sit between the simple tools, presentation or design tools that are very dumbed down to get novice people in. And then they have certain limitations. And then on the other side, you have the very powerful tools that are really for the top 3, 4, 5% top-notch designers and so on, which is what I used to use. So VisMe's mission is really not to be the left or the right, we're like the gray between the white and black. So we're bridging the gap between the simple and powerful. So we give to non-design professionals the capability to create beautiful content that can be as simple and as clean as they want it to be, that can be fully engaging and interactive, and without having to know any coding, without being a design professional. So that's essentially what our platform is. And today it is empowering over 18.5 million people that are using that platform or have used it today to create all sorts of content.
Interesting. And you built Hindsight and Interactive, which built three companies: VisMe, Responder, Easy Web Content. How do you get to decide that you want to focus on just building VisMe? Was it the traction that you're getting for VisMe over the other companies?
So it's been kind of one over the other. It's not been where I've run and been involved in three companies at the same time. Okay. Hindsight was an agency, and at some point, it was where Hindsight kind of served as more of an incubator. At the beginning, essentially, that's what paid the bills. When VisMe gained traction and was able to stand on its own feet and actually started generating even more revenue than Hindsight, and it was profitable, I decided that this is a way to go. I was kind of getting also tired of being in the agency world. I wanted to create a platform that really had the vision that I really foresee. And there's so much still that we want to accomplish. We have a great platform, but there's so many great things that is in the pipeline coming up that further differentiates and really evolves our tool to this ultimate visual communication platform. So Hindsight was a stepping stone for VisMe. And then it's pretty much no longer, I don't no longer run that agency and so on. It's really more in a hybrid mode. But as a result of it, we also, in short, and I know you interviewed Farzad, as the next step out of that has been that we certain challenges, marketing challenges we have had at VisMe, and we create another product that ended up incubating out of Hindsight that solved the problem for our online marketing challenges at VisMe. And now we roll it out and said, okay, this would be great for others, startups and online businesses to be able to utilize to improve their marketing. So VisMe is all in one to save people time and costs and have a better outcome instead of using multiple tools or alternate tools. And the other product, Responder, essentially was an answer for VisMe to create online branding, be able to generate more traction on blogs and websites and be able to outreach bloggers and website owners to be able to get mentions on our site. That was where, instead of using 4 or 5 other tools, virtual assistants to do data entry and so on, we're able to bring it all under one umbrella, create this kind of AI-based system that also allows you to just have, at a fraction of the cost and high efficiency, to be able to do the same thing that used to cost us 2 to 3x times the work. So everything that I like to do has to do with what can it do better than other platforms, and also or can it save time and costs for businesses? Because essentially, when you operate companies and businesses, it is about the bottom line. At the end of the day, you are running an operation. You want to cut costs. You want to be faster. You want to be more efficient. And so the tools and platforms, both VisMe and Responder, that we've created are to answer those. And if they work for us, we believe they work for others, and they have.
Interesting. And you mentioned that there are 18 plus million users. I was interested to know what was some of the growth strategies that you used to scale up to those kind of numbers, and what did it take to get the first 10,000 users on the platform?
Yeah, I'll go through the numbers a little bit. 0 users. Early, this is like in 2013 or 14. When VisMe actually opened its door as very early access, very early, like it was just local here, put a focus group, and we emailed a few users and so on, a couple hundred people that came in. Extremely buggy tool at that time. Didn't really get serious with VisMe until I would say 2016 or 17, when it wasn't really focused as much on the agency. So VisMe's really been about 6 or 7 years that we've gotten full force into it, and 0 users, 25,000 registered users the first year. First, it's a lot of when it comes to design tools and so on, a lot of students and educators love to use these kind of things to create content. So they're kind of word of voice and spread the word around, although they were not any type of revenue generation and still isn't, but they're great to, use tools. They love to create and then mention others and show others what they do. So we got a 25,000 users and 100,000 and 250, I think was like year 2 or 3, and then eventually like 1 million. And then from there, 2 million, 4, 8, 12, I think last year was like, I don't know, 13, 14. And then at this point right now, we're about 8.5 million users. We get a lot of our users through, we've done a great job, I think overall, on organic search. So you can find us on various specific terminologies and so on that are related to us. We've also have, when you create a pretty good tool, others like to talk about it and show to others or mention others. So we have individuals at companies at work, and anybody else asks, how did you create that marketing report? It looks pretty good. What did you use? Did you use the XYZ tool, which everybody knows about? I'm like, nope, I use VisMe. And then, we get others, I want to use that, they want to adopt, become team members, or eventually maybe enterprise. So there is that part of the organic product-led side of it. But it started a lot of it with organic traction and additionally, of course, word of mouth.
Okay, got it. Interesting. And interestingly, that VisMe is still bootstrapped. What is the revenue model, and why did you not look at raising funding?
Well, let's see. I think part of it has been like having a bug where you're like, you want to see how far you can take something without having to use outside help. I was also kind of born, into a family where you kind of very cost conscious with things. And so I've never been comfortable spending other people's money. Let's just put it that way. And I feel uncomfortable, taking somebody else's money and then spending it. And so I felt a little bit towards that, but also part of it was like the buck. The other part was that once we started getting traction, it was where, well, we're generating revenue. And so let's just reinvest it. So each year revenue goes up, we invest more. Revenue goes up again, we invest more. So there's like a certain margin. We are profitable. We have been for a while. The revenue goes up, the margin starts to go up. Okay, let's get it down to a comfortable level that we have a good balance sheet and we have a good cash flow and so on for rainy days, but we keep reinvesting that. And it's worked for us. It's not been, however, and my intention wasn't to immediately create the biggest online communication or presentation platform right off the bat. That's just not how my mind worked. I had more of a long-term plan, is that, hey, this is going to be a 10-year journey. This is going to be a 15-year journey. Look, it is tempting. There isn't a day or week that goes by that there isn't interest coming in from investors and PEs and so on. But so far we've held back, and there's a lot of great partners and so on I have communication with. So when the right timing comes, when we feel it's the right time, we surely may consider it. But that's how we've done it. And the other part is that I think a lot of people think that that's the only way. I think especially these days, it's almost disappointing, to be honest with you, with the new generation, where the first thing they think about, let's go raise money, and I find that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but this is me coming from, maybe you may call it old school. Maybe people would say, well, that's how it was not. It's just there is another way to do it. You don't have to right away think about, let's go raise funds and then we'll build a product. Like, it doesn't cost much to build a product as a SaaS company. If you're building a biotech, a pharmaceutical company, you got to get FDA approval. It costs $100 million. To go through an FDA approval process and so on. Those are expensive. You're creating a car, you're going to need investment. You're going to, a rocket, products that have, tangibly hold in your hands, they cost money to manufacture and so on. But when you're creating code, it doesn't cost anything other than whether you're the coder or you hire others to help you with and so on. You can do a lot with little. And then you get to prove and see if it works, and you make decisions from there. But I think what happens is a lot of people think that they want to be the next Facebook, and it's sexy. They want to be the next Uber. They want to be the next that. And reality is that, it is unicorn status that lasts. Unicorn status that lasts. So you reach unicorn and you're still around 2-3 years later. A lot of companies have reached unicorn status. Where are they right now in the last year? But you actually have a lasting company that continues to grow and so on. It's very, very rare. So when I look at it, it was like, well, let's put a lot of money and let's just, dilute ourselves heavily and then take a huge risk and become number one. And I honestly think that because I took a lot of time to figure some things out as well, I may have run it to the ground. I don't think then 6 years ago, I don't know what the heck I was doing. I came from an agency to running a SaaS and so on. Now I have a very good idea of how to do things, still figuring some things out. We have a much clearer idea, roadmap. Anyway, so that's how I think. I just believe for those listening in that you're at the very beginning and you want to create that next startup and so on. You don't have to immediately think of raising. Focus on your product, focus on the solution, and then get it to a certain stage that you could get better valuations if you decide to go later on, less dilution and so on. So that's kind of my thought process, but others may disagree. That's where we are.
Interesting. And, I was telling Fasad that I did my B school, and Petsy and VisMe were very, very popular. But how's your product different from Canva and Adobe and other products? How do you look at it differently?
Very good. Yeah. We are very similar, but we're also different. This is probably, in terms of marketing and product differentiation, I think that is the biggest challenge that we have. If you were to say, what is your biggest challenge from a marketing perspective? I think it is product differentiation, where we are different, but people don't realize it. And I'll go into that a little bit more. From an internal perspective, what are some of the challenges you have as a startup and as a bootstrap operation and so on? Hiring great people. We have some really good people here. Finding the next hire, a great person and so on. It's not easy to find really, really good people that you say, well, I would love to have this person stay for a long time. And thankfully, we've gotten pretty good at hiring some great people here and so on. I think that's a challenge in terms of any company that has that. But from a marketing standpoint, I think the biggest challenge that we've ever had is we constantly are compared to some better known, well-known tools out there. We didn't have the luxury of multi-million-dollar per year, or month marketing campaigns. And so we're not as well known. So here's what makes us different. We are very similar to what you can do with both of those tools. But if you put one on the left, that's the easier one to use, and you put the other one on the right, which is really meant for the top professionals and so on. We sit between the two. We are bridging the gap between the two. So we are the platform that allows you to, as a non-design professional with no coding experience, to create beautiful content that can be static or fully interactive. You can create the ordinary, and you can create the extraordinary. You decide your imagination how far you want to go. The other part that's different about us is we're very business focused. Business focuses in our templates, our assets, our content is much more geared towards professionals, as in working professionals from all walks of life, and brands. So we're very focused on that. We have an amazing brand wizard. You go in, literally put your website URL, and boom, you get branded content right there on the fly. And then you have full capacity to customize. We have our templates across all sorts of roles and industries that you can tap into. And additionally, you get in the tool on the very beginning. What I usually tell people that I'm talking to say, hey, how are you different? And my statement is, I want you to go register, create a free account, and spend no less than 50, just spend 15 to 20 minutes, but not less than 15. Because the first 5-10 minutes or so, it's like any other design platform or presentation. But then there's all these Easter eggs, our assets, and our unique interactive features and so on that you can tap into without any professional experience. And that's where it starts opening up. And what the outcome is that, okay, there isn't 10,000 other people using the same exact template because they're not as well known, although they have 18 million users, not 200 million. At the same time, it stands over the crowd because I can make it my own. I can make it something that is specific to my needs. So that's kind of what really makes us different. And special. So if you're used to using the other platforms, you're not going to feel alienated coming to VisMe, and it's like a completely different experience. We made that, then I'm not sure, is that there is a standard where design tools work, drag and drop, move objects around. It's very standard across most platforms, right? But then you work things in between that you get to settings, advanced settings. You could drop, as an example, you're creating a short video for, let's say, social media or a presentation. We have 3D assets, accent elements. You can drag and drop into your stage and just change the color of that object and just put it in a corner of your slide. It makes the whole slide looks nicer. It could be a white blank slide, but that element is so nicely done. You have complete control over, granular control over changing the color. Or you can actually tap into these animated objects. You just drag and drop. You could drop a little character that's a male or a female. You can change the skin color to be dark or tan or white. You can change the color of the shirt to be your brand color. And it's literally drag and drop. No other tool goes that deep as we are. in that aspect.
No, I think that's super interesting. And interesting thing you mentioned that it's always difficult to find great employees. But in your view, how do you define high performance in business and leadership teams? What would it mean for you?
Are you referring to hiring individuals in our teams that are high performing individuals, employees?
Yeah, I mean, especially for your C-suite and for your leadership team, how would you define high performance?
Okay, so I think a self-starter is very important.
Yeah.
Being able to think outside the box is important. One of the big things, this is not a work ethic. This is a personality ethic. Being humbled and grounded, being open to constructive feedback, admitting I've been guilty on this myself. I thought I knew everything, until 5-6 years ago, and you find out you're wrong so many times. You fall down, you get up. You're like, I don't know much. And so when you admit that, you open up and you're able to be like a sponge and absorb a lot of information. So people that come in and they're very grounded, they're like, it's not about what idea that I came, it's about I contribute to the team. And also they're open not to just, their own ideas, but others that come as well. So I think that's very important. I think there's a couple of things. We have this thing called, I think, 8 commandments. When you become a worker at VisMe, a VisMeer, as we call it, you become a part of a team. An onboarding document has this thing about like the 8 commandments of, being a part of VisMe. And there's a few of them. And one of them, again, is be grounded. Another one is if there is a problem or issue, talk about it before it becomes bigger. And another one is listen to, constructive feedback. And so there's a few of those. And those are, I think, has helped us to create some great team members. In fact, another thing we have when we're hiring people is if you were to put in front of me 2 individuals, one of them is, let's say it's a designer. Let's just say it's a graphic designer. And that person is the top design that you could find. Amazing, beautiful work, fantastic work. But they seem a little cocky. Like, he or she is, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a while. Let me do my own. And they have this kind of a thing where they figure it out because they've been doing so long. And you put on the right another person that is good designer and is not as well as the other person. They still have to have a foundation. We don't hire people that have no experience, but seems grounded and very open to feedback and so on. That is the person we're going to hire because we know that person is going to grow and evolve over a short period of time. And they're limitless as far as where and how far they can go in the company. But the other person is probably going to be a short term here.
Interesting. And how do you, especially when you're working in a startup and we work in a hybrid environment at times, how do you make sure that everyone feels safe and they can you can create an environment where you can debate with your boss and share
Sure.
yeah.
Well, based on the same principle is that whether you are a manager or an individual that's working on their manager leadership, that it's a two-way street, that you're not afraid to provide feedback and you're also not afraid to get it back. That's very important. Another one is we like to hire people that are just nice, like they're good, great people. Nice doesn't mean like they're anything you tell them they're going to do. No, when they really feel strongly about something, they're going to raise their hand and say, I really feel this is a better approach to do it. But they're just, all around nice, grounded people. And those are essentially most of the team members that we have here. We've got individuals here that a sister came in and brought her other sister and been here for a while. A individual came in and worked from a regular role to a director role, and has brought both brothers in and wife to do some work and so on, because they just love to be a part of this team and so on. So that I think kind of tells us that we're doing something right. There's a lot of room for improvement, certainly, but that we have this environment that people feel safe, they feel comfortable. If they need to, they can come talk to me anytime. It's not like, don't talk to me, I'm the founder of the company. It's a two-way street. So that's kind of the formula. Now, at some point, the thing is that we're about 100 people, 90 something people right now. And it is getting to a point where there's only so much, as a founder, there's so many places you can be at once. But however, the doors are open. If there is an issue, there's something, I could be reached out. I'm not closed off to some separate Slack channel that nobody can reach me. And so we're pretty transparent about that.
Got it. And I want to understand, especially when you work in startups, how important is uh, velocity and speed of execution, and would you trade speed for quality?
I honestly would say both.
Mm,
It's both. I mean, speed. Look, we move, like, we have bi-weekly rollouts. If you go to our site and there's a what's new area on the footer, it's like what's new, and you can see like every 2 weeks we're rolling out improvements, features, refinements, and so on. So we move fairly fast, but it's not too fast where it's just a mess. But I will say this though, we're not going to sometimes spend, we're going to get something to about 95% quality and not maybe 100%, because we want to move at a certain pace and need a certain balance of it. But we're also not going to move so fast where it's 50% quality, sorry, and 50% speed sacrifice for it. So there's a balance between the both. I believe it's both. However, though, quality, I think, supersedes speed for us,
okay.
as long as the quality is not drastically slowing down the pace.
Okay. And how do you approach prioritization? What is the framework that you use to decide what to focus on? When it comes to different business
Product
functions.
first. Yeah, so we are product first. Product is the number one thing. Most of our resource and expense and everything is really towards product. We have an amazing engineering team and UI team, UX team, and so on. One of the challenges we have is that our platform does many different things. You can use it to create a document, presentation, infographic, chart, graph, data visualization. You can connect to live data and pull live data, and it is so many things. Create short videos. So there's so many things it does, and people from all walks of life use it. So what let's say a student or a teacher comes use our platform, their outtake as far as what they like to accomplish might be different than someone that is a marketing manager or an HR manager or an executive at a company when they're looking to create a certain slide deck or a presentation or document. So we have to, of course, establish that what is our ICP, ideal customers, and what is their pain points. But even when we do that, and we say, okay, they're non-design professionals, they're from all walks of the various sizes companies, various size companies and various roles. So we still have to find a common denominator for them as well. That's probably a huge challenge for us in terms of product. And yet, make sure that you push back on a lot of stuff people ask, because if we were to do everything that everybody's asked for, the product would be sitting on the right side, which is a very powerful, hard to use, tool. So it's based on demand, how many users are asking for it, what type of users are asking for it, how big of a deal is. I mean, and the other one is intuition. Over the years, we've learned is that what should be prioritized, what makes sense to do more than that. One of the things we actually don't do, and maybe this has cost us in some ways revenue and so on, but we've done it, is where we don't go down to ground level and say which feature is generating like the most profit for us. We look at it more of a long-term perspective. Is this going to get us to like point B long-term versus like immediately tomorrow generating a lot of revenue?
Got it. And how do you look at delegation, effective delegation? What advice you give to listeners looking to delegate and make sure that they can do only things which they are good at and delegate all the other work?
As negative this may sound, I'm probably not the absolute best person to answer that, and here's why. I'll answer it the proper way, and also I struggle myself with delegation when it comes to product a lot. And it's not where I'm involved in every single detail of the product. Over the years, I'm less, but I'm very heavily involved. I spend almost half of my time on product-related things. And so, that part for me personally has been, if you were to say, hey, what is a challenge that you have personally, is delegating more and more of the product, because I sit very close to the problem. I'm a product person, essentially. However, with that said, when you determine certain individuals, leads, managers, and so on are really good at certain things, then you know that you can easily delegate that to them and they're going to take care of it. So I think that's something that I think is very important, which again comes back to hiring really good people that you can fully have faith and trust in. And I think the other one is that sometimes you just have to step a little bit back and know that if you have good people, and they're going to figure it out. So I think for me, it's been a learning process, and that would be my feedback. It's not probably the best thing you're looking for, but it's because I faced that challenge myself, kind of much better at it, but it's a work in progress.
Got it. And I wanted to understand, how does your team structure internal debates, especially when it comes to sales and product teams versus customer success teams? They might not really agree to each other points, but how do you manage that, and who sets?
Yeah, let's break it down. So first, we didn't have a sales team until a year ago. We just started doing sales, so we've been all product led, but then we had enterprises, big companies, that have come to us and have said, we love your program, we want to use it, and we want to adopt it. And so it made sense that we have a fairly small sales team, less than 10, but it's pretty good, effective for us. They come up all the time with things that enterprises want. And what enterprises want is not what most other people that are not at an enterprise level company would want. So we have a big challenge of certain things that remain enterprise-based features that are only based in that, and some things that make sense that others on the lower end plans should have as well. So that's one of the things that kind of we entail, where there is this constant, I don't want to say battle, there's this constant, push and pull between the product team that's focused on non-design professionals, single users, to like smaller teams. And then there's enterprises who are demanding and they need certain things to work a certain way. So we've had to kind of tread the waters of finding what the formula that works to be able to achieve, both of those. Across different teams, marketing is in close communication with sales and vice versa. Somebody in product can go right to the project manager and engineering team and find out what's been worked on. We have open channels that what the roadmap is coming up for the next couple of weeks, a month or two. So we keep a certain level of transparency, unless too much information can really bog things down. And so we pull a little bit to not get into too much details, but enough where the teams can function and they can go seek that information if they need more.
Got it. And I quickly want to do the top three. What's your favorite business book?
Business book?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I honestly read a lot of blogs and a lot of online material, and then I do actual books these days. So I read them. TechCrunch. I follow very specific people on Twitter. I absorb a lot of great information in short pieces, and then if I learn something, I go dig deeper into that. I found that works great for me. I'm able to absorb a lot of information. I'll raise my hand and say there is some really good content when you get you find the right people to follow and so on TikTok, short videos, and then you find that person and you go and seek their content on YouTube and so on. So I read a lot more online articles and posts and videos than I do books these days.
Got it. And if you could go back in time when you started building VisMe, what is the one thing you would have focused on or done anything differently?
I would have done a lot of things differently. But also I would have done, what I would have done differently was I wouldn't have opened it up as early to the masses, would have focused a little bit more with a smaller group of people on the product versus open and saying, hey, in beta and everybody come and use it. That's one thing I would have changed. I think that would have helped to create a stronger knit community early on that have this exclusive access to be able to get feedback and so on. So I think that's a big mistake that I would have made. Another one.
Interesting. And what's your favorite online tool? Anything other than VisMe?
VisMe and Responder would be two in terms of content and marketing, but again, that's gonna that comes across as promotional. But other tools. Can you ask the question again, please?
Yeah, if you could go back in time when you started building VisMe, what is the one thing you would have focused on or done anything differently?
Would have not opened up VisMe to others early on. Would have kept it closer with a smaller niche community for a while. And I think we opened up a little bit too early and open up to everyone as a beta. We would have remained in beta and exclusive access for some time.
Okay, got it. And what's your favorite online tool, for example, Gmail, Slack?
Yeah, so online tool, let's see, other than VisMe and Responder, which may come promotional, but that is what my team uses day and night. On the other hand, though, I stay very close to, I spend a lot of time in Google Docs and Google Sheets. Like when it comes to long form documents, a lot of content, Google Sheets, Google Docs, those are two things that I use a lot. Slack, of course, we have a fairly remote team, so we spend a lot of time on Slack. It's not really my favorite. It's not really my favorite tool because I think there's way too much time spent on it. So I wouldn't almost even call it a productivity tool. I'll call it more of a communication tool, but it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. And Payman, what is the best way people can reach out to you and know more about VisMe?
So reaching out to me, best way to find me is on LinkedIn. Just put my name, Payman Taei. You're not going to find anyone else with the same name, so you should get one result. That would be me.
Yeah.
And you can connect with me and message me there. And also, as far as VisMe is, again, it's a free platform. Anybody can get in free. You go to VisMe.com, VisMe.com or .co. Either way, you end up in the same place. I challenge you to go spend 15 minutes on it or more. And then I think you can see for yourself how this platform can solve a lot of visual communication or presenting, branding awareness problems, challenges, and so on, better than some of the other platforms you might be already using. And of course, I will also drop a little discount code here. So LIFE, LIFE 23. We'll create that exclusively for you guys. So you can get 15% off any of our premium plans, monthly or annual, using that code exclusive for your podcast.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking our time and to speaking to us. Really enjoyed my conversation with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it too.